Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruckus and the Menace, episode number 32. I am Ruckus, always
And,
causing a ruckus.
and I'm Menace the Menace.
Tonight we have a wonderful episode, and if you're listening to this the next morning or whenever you decide, we have an awesome sports podcast for you every week on Thursday mornings. Um, and let's start off with some off-topic beginnings. Spennis, what are you up to?
Well, we'll mention this in another piece of segment that the WVU Oklahoma game that I had was this past weekend. So I got to go and do that.
We also trash talked on the side, but yeah. Boomer
Yep.
sooner.
Uh, well, we'll see how that ended up turning out. But I did finish the main story of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I also did the been playing more Mario and Rabbids, and I've got Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming in later on this week. What's been going on with you, Ruckus?
Not a whole lot. Watching some football. Uh, Watching a bit of YouTubes here and there, and got back into the kick of watching Leonard Kenny on Hulu, a Crave TV original. Was not sponsored to say that, but I might say the show is pretty good. Um, Other than that, as far as video games are concerned, I've been playing some Guardians of the Galaxy, trying to just beat it. And let's be honest, that game is pretty darn good when it comes to storytelling and also keeping the gamer in mind entertained. And also played a little God of War uh, for here and there. It's a fun game. It's pretty entertaining, a bit annoying, but it is what it is. It's a hack
The
and slash.
2018, or are you doing Ragnarok?
I am doing the 2018 version of the game that released originally on the PlayStation 4 that got ported over to PC as of I
Ah,
think
nice,
November of last year, or no, it was
nice,
February
nice,
of this year. My bad.
nice. Yep. And the Mario and Rabbids I'm playing is the new one, Sparks of Hope. So, and
It's
the
on
Pokemon
Switch.
I will be. Yep, that's Switch, and a lot of the stuff I've been playing on lately that has been primarily on my Nintendo Switch.
Alrighty, are you ready for that special segment of the starting lineup?
Yeah, we'll just start with a couple of like main news stories. To start out, and going into baseball first, with Anthony Rizzo re-signing with the Yankees. Looked like it was a 2-year, $40 million deal. And then the Cy Young Award winners for the AL, it was Justin Verlander, and for the NL, it was Sandy Alcantara. I mean, do we see Verlander retiring? He leaves
Did he
on.
show any signs of sorry, was that rhetorical or were we open for answers here?
I was like, I was saying, like, now that he's won another Cy Young, won that World Series, he's about to be 40. Do we really see signs of him retiring?
Um, it. I mean, did he show any sign of fatigue in the World Series or in the postseason at all?
It's hard to tell.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, he looked like the playoff Verlander, and I don't know how many years he has left on his contract, but my guess is he is in a re-signing time, possibly.
Think he's a free agent. Yeah.
So who knows? Uncle Charlie is getting up in age too, Charlie Morton,
Oh,
and
you mean Ground Chuck?
Oh, I thought they called him Uncle Charlie back in the Bay before he went to the Braves. That
I
almost
mean,
rhymed.
and Uncle Charlie is called a curveball, but ground Chuck because he always would pitch the ball low.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I always thought it was Uncle Charlie was his nickname. But maybe I just misheard. Because you just said it was
Yeah,
ground check, and that actually sounds a lot funnier.
yeah.
It sounds
Um,
less creepy.
yeah, but I think, and what's interesting about this is that it's another major player with a supermodel wife that honestly, while Giselle may not have been as supportive of Tom, I think we definitely know that Kate is otherwise very supportive of Justin.
Definitely not up to no good.
I would say more up to a lot of good
Damn it, I
in
hope
that.
you understood my pun.
Oh, I wasn't too sure where you were going with that fully.
Upton, up to.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I figured you were going with that
Anyways,
somewhere along,
uh,
but
I personally think if the money's right, he'll probably go for another season. Who knows? Maybe he goes for another, like, maybe he goes for like a 2 or 3 year deal and pulls what Charlie Morton did. Who knows?
yeah, who knows what ends up being the case, but I did, when Kate Upton was doing the interview to kind of be like, kind of say like, yeah, is this it for Justin? She's like, we'll see kind of how it goes. And I think that Justin Verlander is going to assess a lot of things.
He's probably gonna have a baby.
Mm,
Maybe, I
I
don't know. Doesn't
mean,
he have a kid already with her?
I think he does. I think they might.
Maybe he'll have a World Series baby. I don't know. Sorry, I need to quit
But I
acting like
can tell
Biggie.
you, but I can tell you at least one person who would be excited is that you would know the MLB podcaster and major MLB the Show streamer Ben Verlander, who is actually Justin's brother.
I could have sworn they had some resemblance, but I didn't want to assume.
Nope, it actually is. That actually is the case.
Good God.
I think that actually is the case. That Ben Verlander is Justin's brother.
So does he have the high ground?
Um, well, Justin, I think was definitely the one when it came to the money, though.
All right.
But his brother, his younger brother Ben, played for the Tigers organization, was released in 2017, and now works as a sports writer and analyst.
There you go. You can't. If you can't beat him, join him.
Yep. And also from college wise at Old Dominion. I think it was Old Dominion. It was like he's from Mannequin Sabbath, Virginia. A college ball. Yeah, he actually played at Old Dominion. So he's a
That's
Virginia.
that's
So he's
pretty
truly a
sweet.
Virginia native. So that kind of says a lot. And then another major offseason move baseball wise, Teoscar Hernandez, another Blue Jays player, is going to Seattle.
First it was Robbie Ray, and now it is Teoscar. But the only difference is Robbie Ray was actually a free agent. He was not traded.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's like a former Blue Jay being transitioning over to Seattle. And I think what's really interesting about this deal is that I think this may reduce the urgency for Seattle working to re-sign Mitch Haniger.
Also, you get like a big upgrade when it comes to well, not really so big as in like he's like the Aaron Judge of that whole deal, but like I think Teoscar has more upside than Haniger personally. That's just me though.
Yeah, and that's why I'd say that I think that now it reduces Seattle's urgency to re-sign Haniger.
It also saves Toronto some money because I don't know. I feel like if with that move, if they still have Whit Merrifield, they could keep him in like the utility role, or just keep him in right field,
And
or
then
sit.
it's like Witt's kind of already that super utility anyway, because what is it? He can play second. Is he a second, short, third, and then all outfield, or is he just a second base and all outfield, kind of like a Mookie Betts?
I think he was more of a second baseman, and then if they needed him to, he could switch to like right field and center field. I don't know if he ever really played left field, but I do know he could play some
I mean,
outfield.
you don't need much to be a left fielder. Like, you don't have to have the strongest arm in the world to play left.
I think we also had Andrew Benintendi at that point, so I think they were trying to get the most cash to playing time ratio as they could out of Benintendi for as long
Yeah,
as they
kind of the
had
most
him.
mileage out of it. Kind of the most
Yeah.
mileage out of it. Yeah, but that makes sense. And then I'll let you
Speaking
kind
of
of
the
speak on
Royals,
the Kansas City Royals, and mention then I'll mention one more thing before we get into the next little special piece.
right? So, if you haven't watched the news in the local KCMO area or really been on social media, the Kansas City Royals CEO and chairman John Sherman, also former Cleveland Guardians owner, or I think they're still currently part owners of that as well. But anyways, that's not important. What is important though is the Kansas City Royals plan to stay in Kansas City, Missouri, but they're planning to move from the Truman Sports Complex where they share the complex between their neighbors of the Kansas City Chiefs. They are now supposedly planning on moving in more closer to the city, as in the towers, skyscrapers, and fancy stuff like that. Time will tell what the exact location is, but there are mock-ups on the at the end of the letter that Sherman wrote, and the project is upwards to $2 billion on the project to build a new stadium in the middle of Kansas City.
Hmm.
I'm a little excited, but at the same time, when I see the mock, I am reminded of Truist Bank Center, but maybe things change here and there. I just think, in my honest opinion, the right field like bench area looks a little tacky. It looks like more of a minor league stadium kind of look rather than a major league stadium. But that's just me. We'll see what happens in the future.
Yep.
Spennis, what do you have for the rest of the starting lineup?
Well, the rest of the starting lineup, as far as the news stories go, is that World Cup soccer begins this week in Qatar. And we have
Is that how you say guitar?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they actually properly call it a Qatar, but it's one of those where you have the World Cup, and it begins. And it looks like it will begin here on with Qatar versus. I think it begins Qatar versus. Qatar's kicking off with. I've got the table. Ecuador.
So,
So you've got things like, and now you're dealing with the tune-ups that are being played. Cristiano Ronaldo is missing his with a stomach bug, and but we have that it begins on the 20th with the first Group A game, and then you go to 3 games after. Then you go to 3 games on Monday.
When does the U.S. hosting begin for the World Cup? Because
4 years. We're
huh?
4 years, and it looks like it's actually split, and that run is actually split between, or that bid is actually split between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. So it is,
For 4 years from now.
yeah, for
Okay,
2026.
that's why I was confused about the whole voting for Arrowhead to become a World Cup destination. That's why I was like, aren't they like?
Yeah, the
Is
Arrowhead is one of the. I think Arrowhead might be one of the areas that they're looking at contention. But the first game for the U.S. will be on Monday for group play, as the U.S. will be taking on Wales. And
wait, they're
they are
taking on
also,
themselves? Just kidding. Bad joke.
no, they're taking on the another quarter of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I know where Wales is at. I was just making a bad joke.
Yep. Well, the U.S. will also have to take on England at some point as well.
That's bonkers.
And actually, that game against England will be on Black Friday. That is a Black Friday game.
Get some good deals on Cabbage Patch Kids while you can before Mama Joe snatches it from your very hands.
And before before you basically have before you have the U.S. play England and their new anthem of "God Save the King." Yes, and the reason, and with, of course, all the stuff happening in the United Kingdom, the major thing that happens with Queen Elizabeth passing and Prince Charles taking over as king is that the anthem changes from "God Save the Queen" to "God Save the King." And it will alternate depending on the gender of the ruler. But with that all aside, we now go into road trips with Ruckus or The Menace. I mean, this could be a segment where it could be an and, but this time it's or.
Are we there yet?
We're getting there.
Are
But this
you
past
there
Saturday,
yet? Sorry, just had to ask.
are we trying to do the donkey or are we doing Homer Simpson?
Your pick.
Never mind. But this past Saturday, I took the trip to Morgantown to see WVU play Oklahoma at Millen Puskar Stadium.
Boomer sooner.
Ugh, it was rainy, it was cold, but the thrill of being at Millen Puskar for someone who is living in West Virginia, no matter where in the state, is an experience worth taking a trip for.
Country roads.
Yeah, the seats are, yes, they are shoulder to shoulder with people, so it does feel a bit cramped. However, the house was not full due to the rain and WVU not having as great of a season. Oh man, it would have been an even better experience if I were there for the Pat White days. However, the game was excellent, very slow in developing, but the second half was masterful and back and forth drama that I just did not want to miss out on. So I ended up down at the seats for most of it. But some players of note were on the West Virginia side. Quarterback Garrett Green was the mobile quarterback that the Mountaineers needed to get any bit of offense going, as the game was wet and sloppy, making the rushing offense more of an imperative to do well on both sides of the ball. But the bit of passing that kind of came along was Bryce Ford Wheaton for working back to the ball on a back shoulder fade that went slightly closer to the front shoulder than the back in the third quarter to give WVU the first lead. On Oklahoma's side, Eric Gray had a 211-yard rushing day with 2 tutties as he came up huge for the Sooners. And Marvin Mims, I think Eric Gray is going to be solid in the NFL. Maybe not he won't be a first round pick, but he could be like one of those good, like maybe mid round picks.
He might be a gray area.
That just was that was eh. But Marvin Mims saw a lot of opportunities pretty much taking the top off of the Mountaineers secondary. But either the throw was a little off by Gabriel or just a few costly drops from Mims. I could see Mims being a decent draft pick because of his pure speed alone. But I think is on dropping a lot of passes that he should have. Although he made a big 67-yarder in the game, I think those missed opportunities, especially in dealing with bad weather, may not bode well for him playing in like Seattle or something like that.
I could see him being a McCole Hardman replacement for the Kansas City Chiefs.
That is, if the hands are there. However, I was impressed with Danny Stutzman as a linebacker for Oklahoma. He had 14 tackles on this game, 9 of them solo. And then I think the punter is going to be an NFL guy for Oklahoma. I mean, granted, he's the nephew of a longtime NFL punter in Matt Turk, with Mike being that the Oklahoma punter is currently Michael Turk. But I could tell that it's one of those things where it's like you just see him kick and you could tell that he's got an NFL punting style.
Like so good that he has to take a drug test after the game? Like Tommy Townsend?
I mean, it could be the case, but I think with him basically being like he only punted the ball 4 times, and 3 out of those 4, the punt ended up inside the 20. And a lot of those happened early because there was the battle of field position. However, I picked it right. The Mountaineers did it, beating Oklahoma 23-20, and it was at the last second too, as Casey Legg kicked in the game winner, and I got to take in the first experience of singing Country Roads at Millen Puskar Stadium following a Mountaineer win, and that's tradition there, and just you could hear the sound, like you could hear the singing from all around the stadium, and it's a sight and a sound that the Mountaineers go around the bottom of go around the stadium. It's like I was about 40 rows up, so I wasn't that close, but it was definitely a great spot to be in, because you could see the entire field from where I was. It was about the 20, like we were right there, right around like the 20-yard line. So it wasn't like it was a terrible spot at all.
It sadly says Boomer Sooner.
Oh,
well, I get
man.
for talking shit during the game, but it is what it is.
But I tell you, like, there's something about college football that's, like, to go to a college football game, it's very much just as like going to a pro game with probably a little less people involved, but still like a better, like a almost like a better price for a good amount of the experience.
If you ever wanted to go to an Arrowhead game, let me know. That's as close as a college as you get with the NFL, buddy.
Wait, you're talking like coming out there to KC?
That's Texas size 10-4, yes.
Hey, what? I mean, we've got to figure something. We've got to figure out something along the way. It's gonna be a little different. It's gonna be a little different with me now, soon being married, but because I would have to clear a good amount with the other half. But I'm sure that if push came to shove and we wanted to figure out something, I'm sure that I could swing it.
You
That
gotta
there
say
could
it
be a
like the
way.
enemy. You gotta say it like the enemy. I'm very sure we're gonna focus on the game. That's what I'm sure of.
Hmm.
He has that
Yep.
very like thick Southern accent, and that's what I like about him.
Yep, but as far as the simulated games, Ruckus and I both won our fantasy football matchups this week. For me, it's about time. About time I got a win, and about time I got good quarterback play. As Justin Fields was him for me this week.
He took the field for per se.
Yeah,
As far as my team, I'm just gonna say this straight up. As Ricky Bobby would
it
say,
was like
you're
a
either
bye week. You had
what?
a bye week. You
Yeah.
had a bye week.
As Ricky Bobby would say though, if you ain't first, you're last, and I definitely ain't last.
Oh, but now that we've gotten through the simulated games and kind of the road trip, we now can get to the high heat where we are recapping week 10, not 9. I completely forgot to type that in there. But Ruckus, who was your most impressive team this week? And
My
I
most
will and
go ahead.
I am already set up.
All right, so my most impressive team this week is the Washington Commanders.
Left hand up.
The Eagles or wings have been wounded. Let's just say that for now. They can still fly, just not very well.
Yep. Left hand up. We shocked we shocked the league with a and the Commanders are surprisingly 5-5. Now we just got to get through these two non-division games that we should win to get to 7-5, heading into back to back with the Giants, or back to back within a span of 3 weeks. Yes, yes, this actually is happening. We play the Giants, go to a bye week, then play the Giants again.
Maybe they won't be so giant.
But they're from New York.
That should have been my bold take.
What?
That
The
that the Giants wouldn't be so giant, and they would get whooped on twice in a row. I don't know.
I don't know. It's gotta be interesting to figure that out. But I mean, the Giants are playing well. That's the problem.
I mean, it is a stretch. I'll give you that, because speaking of bold takes, uh, a
We'll
couple
get to
weeks.
that. We'll get to that here in a moment.
All right, all right, all right. Go
Unless you
for
were
it,
talking the
Spinnis.
Philadelphia Eagles one, where you were saying, yeah, that was a stretch, but we we both were kind of like it's a little bit of a stretch, but at the same time we can kind of see it coming.
Let's get further in, and then we'll talk about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, not that we're like sitting on like a lack of time or anything. But the most disappointing team for me this week, I went with the New Orleans Saints. They are just, something is not right.
My most
And they even
disappointing.
were mulling quarterback changes. I'm like, why don't we just go back to Jameis already? And then your most disappointing team is Ruckus.
The Las Vegas Raiders. If you lose
Which,
against the Colts, there's something wrong.
I mean, the situation's bad, but at the same time, you're playing against a coach with no experience prior to this game, who pretty much his best trait that he had, his best thing that he had going for him, is that he was the center for two of the best quarterbacks of all time.
Now he's the center of attention.
And now he's leading men.
Yeah, and before Peyton wanted him to listen to him instead of just Saturday leading the leading the charge back in the day. But things have changed,
Oh, but I'm sure that Saturday did learn a lot under Peyton though, so there had to be something.
and it's crazy that now a day of the week is coaching a football team.
Hmm. Yeah, I got where you were going with that. Most impressive player for you this week, Ruckus.
Most impressive player is the new starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Isaiah Pacheco.
Okay. What in that stat like what was kind of the stat line? Because I know I didn't see much of anything as far as that went. Because I know that the oh wait, he had 82 yards rushing. I was like,
Yeah, he had a good amount of rush for what did he had a good amount of rush for what is kind of a lackluster running core for the Chiefs. And yes, Rojo has not played at all during the regular season because we're trying to stash him, even though he wanted to be released a couple weeks ago. But like, um, as far as things go, he looks like he wants it more than most of the other running backs. And Clyde, he has not been the best in the red zone, nor has he really gotten very many gains when it came to running the ball. Most of the time, he'd get me 1 or 2 yards, and sometimes he would find holes. Yes, you could argue that it could be the O line that is also suffering when it comes to finding holes to run through, but the bottom line is you still gotta push through no matter what. And Isaiah Pacheco, that man, again, reminds me of Gronk if Gronk was a speedy running back. Spence.
for me, my most impressive player is definitely him. It's Justin Jefferson of the Vikings. That one hand, I mean, granted, Stephon Diggs had a sick one-handed catch, but Justin Jefferson had a sick one-handed catch. Stephon Diggs did have a whole bunch of catches for a bunch of yards. Justin Jefferson had almost 200 yards receiving in that game. So really, I could go Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson, but Justin Jefferson did have and completely balled out for this one. I almost wanted to give it to Justin Fields again, but Justin Jefferson balled out.
Can you dig it?
Sucker!
Or
Oh,
or can you justify it?
I think it's justified enough. But I was saying, like, when you were going with the "Can you dig it, sucker?" I was going with the Booker T. No, I did not do a spinneroonie.
Because I can dig it. Stephon can definitely
you
dig it.
wow, you missed where I was going with that completely.
It's fine.
Because I was actually talking about the WWE Booker T.
I
when he's
know
doing.
Booker T. Washington. It's okay.
That wasn't even Booker T. Washington.
I, you know, you're
Oh
right. When
man.
you're right, you're right, Spanish. See, this is why Ruckus causes a ruckus. Even though he doesn't know what the heck Spanish is talking about half the time.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to pull up some clips. But now we are to the Eastwood segments: the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Do, 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 do.
I can tell your first attempt just did not pick up. I
I
can just
hate
tell it did not
NVIDIA
pick up.
broadcasts because I can't do whoa 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 because it thinks that I'm like going ape shit in the background. All right, we're gonna go with the whoa whoa whoa. God, it still did. Okay, NVIDIA broadcast, you are fired from this podcast. I swear to God. Uh, hold on a second. Give me a quick Texas size 10-4 here. Uh,
Ruckus, let's just stop while we're still behind.
you know, hold
Let's
on a
quit while
second.
we're ahead.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, there you go. It's in the OBS recording. You're welcome,
Oh,
America.
okay.
All right.
All right. What was the good for this week for you, Ruckus?
The good was definitely that as far as good goes in all seriousness, the Packers are looking somewhat better
But
as
are
they
they really
won.
though?
They won against the Cowboys. Mr. Cheesehead, former Cheesehead, lost to his former team. And honestly, I get your skepticism because I'm also skeptical too. Because my God, they need some help as far as receivers go. But uh, maybe the Cowboys had an off game, but also the NFL has been off since the like season started. Let's be real here. But
Okay.
yeah, I get where you're going with it. Packers look I think they look okay, but we'll just have to see. They got lucky this week, but I put it as my good because they finally won a damn game.
Yeah. And my good actually comes actually from that Colts Raiders game where you were talking that mad trash, and that was Jeff Saturday getting his first win as Matt Ryan and was able to motivate Matt Ryan in his return to the starting role. Kind of says a lot when it's like the reason why the Matt Ryan was getting benched is because the Colts front office was being super impatient. And just Matt Ryan needed to get something used to it. And I don't know what Jeff Saturday did to kind of make it a little bit easier for Matt Ryan to be able to play his game, but it looked like the Colts kind of were holding it somewhat together. As yes, they beat the they beat the Raiders by only 5 points, but it was a 5 points that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Doesn't have to be easy, but it can also be ugly as well.
And then the bad for you, Ruckus.
My bad this week is just the sheer weakness that the Bills are showing.
I think the
Because,
Eagles showed some too, but
okay, the Eagles at least have the defense to back it up a little bit. Heineke got intercepted like, what, 2 times?
yeah, but they couldn't. Yeah, but the Eagles' defense couldn't stop the run and
Fair
just couldn't
point.
get off the field.
But yeah, the Bills, when it comes to the offense, is just not the best, but at the same time, they're getting unlucky. Kind of like how the Raiders got unlucky with like close leads or close games in general. Bills, they're getting unlucky as well, but I think they'll clean it up. But that is my bad for this week.
But I think that some of that may be factored into my bad of injuries to key quarterbacks. And Josh Allen with that elbow is one of them. Kyler Murray. As yes, my most impressive team, which I somehow never got to, it was the Arizona Cardinals for getting that huge win without him. And they also ended up with an injury to Colt McCoy, who was the backup quarterback, so they had to go to Trace McSorley. And then PJ Walker is injured is injured for Carolina. So now they're having to go back to Baker Mayfield. Of which Carolina has had a quarterback acquisition identity crisis. That is a very weird thing to say back to back to back.
Yeah.
That's a lot of meat in those syllables.
It's a Texas size 10-4, buddy. See, this is what I get for watching Letterkenny way too much. Just hearing those things come out. Anyways.
Oh no, but I was talking like the amount of syllables I just had to go through. It's like quarterback, that's 3. Acquisition, another 4. Identity. So it was like your mouth is just moving a mile a minute just to say that one thing, and it was about like 13 syllables just to go through it.
Are you sure about that, buddy?
I don't think anybody could ever pronounce that one correctly.
Or they're not sure about it, but it is what it is.
Get out.
Are you okay, I'm done.
Okay. What's the ugly?
Alright, so Goodell, if you're listening to this, which I doubt you are because we're not that popular, but I wish we would at some point. You know, you really had us with the roughing the passer call back a couple games ago with the Raiders. And now you pull this. How do the refs not call this Juju helmet to helmet when the man that hit him was looking for blood? Like, what the hell? Even it's bad when the refs take a little bit of their sweet ass time to not call a helmet to helmet when they had too much shit in their eyes. And I maybe
Wait,
they
there was a
caught pink
flag
eye
down. There was a flag down on the play.
for holding.
Wow. I'm like,
I told you about this earlier.
yeah. Oh no. I was. We were saying that before the recording. I was saying that I was throwing out there. I was like, wait, there was a flag down on the play.
Right, but not the right flag. It was a red flag. If anything, I would have kicked out both refs. I was pissed. Like any other Chiefs fan, I was pissed, and I hope they got pink eye for the amount of shit that they pulled.
Targeting is. I'm shocked that they wouldn't have either looked at that or called it, which was weird because I mean, yeah, in college that's targeting.
And the sad thing is, there was a game like later on in the day that good lord, I can't even think right now. They had like a bad hit on one other. It was between I don't recall who the teams were, but I just remember seeing the refs instantly call it when it was helmet to helmet, and it was about the same treatment, kind of, or not the same treatment, like the same scenario as between Juju and the defender that hit him helmet to helmet had. But on that one, it was near the sideline. It wasn't like in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And then later on, there was a no call on MVS whenever he got hit pretty hard too. And I believe it was the same dude, or maybe it was a different guy, but still, a lot of people also got pissed off about that too, including me. But I was just kind of like, what the hell? And that is my ugly for this week.
And my ugly involves quarterback play in New Orleans. The Saints right now are having a quarterback dilemma. I mean, they are looking at the changes they were looking at a change, and not Bruce Allen, but Dennis Allen is sticking with Andy Dalton. Probably your number one quarterback is Jameis. If you have him healthy, put Jameis back in. Because honestly, he's going to be the one person that's going to get the ball to Olave. who is your rookie wide receiver that you drafted. And honestly, I think the Saints could be, really will be in the market for a quarterback this offseason. That.
And that was the good, the bad, and the Eastwood. Wah, wah,
The good,
wah,
the bad, and the Eastwood.
wah, wah.
Yep. But what was the best game for you this week? I think we both were definitely in agreement in saying Vikings Bills was an instant classic, but I also added the Lions Bears into that.
Yeah, I mean, Vikings Bills could go both ways. Yes, the Vikings won later on and took the steam out of the Bills engine, but I could agree on the Lions Bears as well.
But we both had different opinions on the worst game.
I'm gonna be honest, the Broncos suck. And the Titans, I mean, yeah, Malik Willis, which is still not like seasoned enough to where you could turn him over and make him into a starting quarterback with the medium rarity with the pink center, but it is what it is. The only other weapon you have at that point is Derrick Henry if you don't have Tannehill. Enough
Yeah,
said.
but Tannehill played in that game. But the next thing that I'm going to say is that the game that I chose for a worst game was just as much of a snooze fest, and that was Steelers Saints. It was like, who was watching this other than maybe your diehards? Like, really, everybody who kind of just loves good football would rather have been watching that Vikings Bills game.
Hopefully they weren't picking it while watching the game.
Huh. But that's neither here nor there. The Steelers Saints game was just, I mean, it was a 10-point game. TJ Watt being back was huge. But that game was such a missable game.
You
Like,
know a game's a snooze fest when you almost feel like taking a nap at your desk.
oh my goodness. Yeah, that is true.
Dude, golf makes me nap more, but for whatever reason, Steelers Saints made me nap even more. That would make my grandpa snore at like the intro of the game.
This was a game that was good about 10 years ago. 10
Oh,
years
Breeze
ago, this
versus
game is,
Roethlisberger for sure.
yeah, 10 years ago, this game is epic. Now, this game is crap.
If it's not Squatchish, it's crap. Um,
But what is your bold take from this week's action?
Spennis, I'm glad you asked that because this was actually originally your bold take, but I took it because there was no other good bold takes that I would have had because they're usually pretty nasty, unless it's the Commanders Eagles bold take that I had, but it wasn't really the Commanders that were going to win. I just kind of assumed that the Eagles were not going to be undefeated for very long when it came to the month of December. But I was almost accurate, you could say. Yes, they are now not undefeated, but it wasn't. I didn't predict which team would do it in the right order, nor did Spinnis rule out that the Eagles bold take that I made was not a bad bold take slash
Right.
incorrect.
Right. But this one here that you had that I also
I just
had.
wanted to throw that out there. The bold
Yeah.
take that I had this week, thanks to Spinnis, was the trade for Stephon Diggs from Minnesota to the Buffalo Bills was good for both sides because Stephon Diggs for Justin Jefferson was was good for both sides of the coins for the Buffalo Bills and the Vikings
And the
because
only reason why that ended up being for Jefferson is because the pick that got sent to Minnesota was the pick that the end result ended up being Justin Jefferson.
correct.
And you was that what you were gonna say, or
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We hit the nail in the coffin, bud.
yep. But my bold take here is that the Raiders front office should completely regret changing coaches during the previous offseason if they have not done so already.
You're better off just hiring Matt Patricia at that point.
No, no, they needed to keep the guy who they had.
Didn't that guy go to the 49ers? The offensive
Oh no,
coordinator guy that
what
was an interim head coach?
the one that the Raiders had?
Yeah, didn't he? Because we're not talking about Mr. Gruden. We're talking about,
I think it's Bisaccia or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Pistachio.
What?
You're welcome. um, no, Pistachio, I think, yeah, he was the interim head coach, and I thought he went and became an offensive coordinator for the 49ers, because I think for one of the Monday night games, or, because wasn't it the Monday, it was the 49ers and Broncos, right? Wasn't that a Monday night game, or was that a different game?
No, he is currently the special teams coordinator for the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, yeah, I was way off. Ignore me. Sorry, Pistachio. I mean,
Yeah,
you are
this is
green, by the way, so you fit in, Pistachio.
yeah, the Raiders should have kept Rich Bisaccia. Because here's the thing. When Derek Carr was playing under Bisaccia, the Raiders were winning. They won their way into a playoff spot. And how do you
I mean, they also had Henry Ruggs before he went to DUI land.
yeah, but they did most of that without him. So really, at that point, as far as the Henry Ruggs thing, who cares? Who cares? But Bisaccia was actually getting the Raiders in the right direction. So my biggest thing, as far as Mark Davis, while you were trying to portray old man Al and his just win baby and bringing Josh McDaniels over, you were already winning with Rich Bisaccia. Why didn't you just keep him? Like, why wouldn't you have kept him?
Man just needs to go bald like his team. Sorry, not sorry.
No, no. Mark Davis right now just kind of, and I laughed. I called this like years ago when I said that Al Davis was going to be the owner of the Raiders until he croaked. I mean, honestly, I think like though Mark Davis is probably going to be the owner of the Raiders until he croaks. I think that Mark Davis is right now kind of being dumb right now. Like you were winning
Dude
prior to
looks
you
fugly.
prior to you letting go of the one interim head coach that you had that was actually getting you there. Like, what are you thinking? Like, you thinking like, oh, just because Josh McDaniels has had head coaching experience and has come from the Belichick line of coaching that he's going to be successful? What has happened to most Belichick head coaches as soon as they hit the NFL? They
They go
flop
into
worse than
dog crap.
LeBron James attempting to take a charge. Yes, you heard me say that right. They flop worse than LeBron James attempting to take a charge.
Dude, they flop. Dude, they do worse than Ben Simmons trying to shoot a three or any other jump shot.
I just was talking like flopping as a whole.
Yeah, same with Ben Simmons. It's almost as bad as James Harden,
Oh,
too.
the Nets are already frustrated with him, but that's beside the point. Oh, let's go to the burning question now, Ruckus.
Alright, so my burning question is kind of been a simmered one for a while because even before the season started, there were talks about Clyde Edwards-Helaire possibly uh, being benched at the start of the season because of just the sheer talent that the and competition that the not wide receiver, the running
Running
back core
backs.
had. So like you have Pacheco, you have McKinnon, you have Ronald Jones, which is inactive, um, and then you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So my burning question is: will Clyde Edwards-Helaire leave Kansas City after this season to pursue better possible better opportunities, or will he take less money and stay with the team because he's on his contract? Well, I guess you could take because 2020. So isn't there like 3 years, or is it a 4 year span for the rookie
It's
players?
usually
Like,
3 to 4. It's usually 3 to 4, depending.
because you have Pacheco, which you just drafted this year. You have McKinnon, which is a veteran, and you have Rojo, that's also a veteran that you haven't really used, that wants to get the hell out of your system if you don't use him anytime soon. But at the same time, I don't know why that man's complaining, but that's hearsay. But personally, maybe he leaves. Who knows? But that is my burning question.
I think that Clyde had. I think he'll probably go, but I think the next contract he's taking is probably going to be an extremely cheap one. But my burning question this week is definitely a very interesting one in and of itself. With the win in an instant classic against the Bills to now make it 7 in a row, are we convinced that the Minnesota Vikings are contenders for a deep run in the playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl?
You know, with that kind of spurt, wasn't it like 2017 or 2018 or no? 2017 was the year that they got pretty far in the playoffs, but then didn't get all the way, right? Because that was the year that
Right.
Diggs had that insane, was
Yeah,
it
that catch.
overtime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe I'm not going to jinx it and say that they pull that and then screw it up later on against the Eagles. I think they have a good chance. I'm gonna be optimistic here instead of
The
pessimistic.
potential is there. I think the potential is there. Kirk Cousins needs to play well in postseason play. But I'm not ruling out the possibility. You can't rule out the possibility, but it makes for very, very interesting football coming up in the next few weeks. Especially as Minnesota is right now in the middle of probably the toughest stretch of their schedule. And getting into some of the games that we need to predict. We're in the film room now. And we're going to start. Although, Ruckus, this is the first time you've gotten ahead in a record. We've
Well, as
tied.
far as last week's, as far as total record, I'm at 500. Yay!
Yeah.
But it's still like you're ways above me in the total record.
I mean, there was that 10-0 a couple of years ago that kind of, or not a couple of years ago, a couple of weeks
Way
ago
to
that
rub
kind
it
of really
in.
helped. They kind
Way
of
to
helped
rub it
a
in.
little
Just
bit, but
might as well give me
that's not a
gunpowder
point.
to soak it in the wound, buddy.
Well, but the first game we're gonna pick here is Bedlam, Oklahoma State, and this is in
Boomer
Norman.
Sooner. You're welcome.
I
I'm not even gonna put the college name. I'm just gonna say Boomer Sooner because I'm a filthy.
I am
Uh.
taking I am taking Oklahoma State.
All
I
right.
think I think the Cowboys will win that one on the road. Tennessee and South Carolina.
Tennessee, baby.
I'm going with the Volunteers as well, and then USC and UCLA.
I'm gonna go USC.
I'm taking Lincoln Riley as well.
Oh shit, that's where he went.
Minnesota,
I forgot about that.
Minnesota Dallas.
Yeah, I'm going Vikings on that one. You
And
better
I'm
go to the
also
Chiefs. You better go to the Chiefs.
and I'm taking the Chiefs. the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Jets.
I'm gonna go
So
with the
we have
Colts.
the 5 games in the NFL are the our Vikings Cowboys, which we both took the Vikings, Chargers Chiefs, which we both took the Chiefs, Eagles Colts, which we have split in that I have taken the Eagles and Ruckus has taken the Colts. Cardinals 49ers, which Ruckus has taken the Cardinals and I'm taking the 49ers. And Patriots Jets, where this one's at MetLife now. I'm taking the Jets at home, while Ruckus will be taking the Patriots.
Maybe Bailey zaps the Jets out of the sky.
Uh,
Who knows?
but now we move on to color commentary. This is where Ruckus and I create scenarios and we debate them. If you got suggestions, don't forget to send something to us in the comment section as far as what we should do next for color commentary. This week's is called Is It Time? The question here is that for these following situations, is it time for a change? We're going to start with the Las Vegas Raiders. And this can go kind of multiple ways here. Primarily talking about head coach and quarterback or quarterback. Is it time for a change?
I think, to be honest, they need to maybe demote Josh McDaniels to an offensive coordinator and hire a real coach like either Eric Bieniemy or just someone that isn't a complete douche like John Gruden. They could have
Huh.
kept Pasaccio, but that didn't happen. But honestly, when it comes to the quarterback position, Carr just needs more receivers, but he also just needs to uh, control the throws a lot better because he is like his throwing motion is more showboaty, but like when it comes to accuracy and whatnot, you gotta like also be consistent on your accuracy rather than just like floating it out there all the time. I don't really see him like throwing like fast darts out there, where it hits the receiver in the chest. It's more like he flings it in the air like a flea flicker. Whereas other quarterbacks are pretty much like throwing dimes, but also throwing them fast, so it's harder for the corners to go
Get
after
their
it.
hands on it.
Yeah,
I think that it is time for a change in Las Vegas, but it is either going to be one or the other. You're not going to do both. Because I think that really people have been calling for Carr to get out of Vegas or leave the Raiders for at least the last couple of years, and everybody thought last year that this was going to happen.
you could say they wanted him to get into his car and leave.
Hit the road, Jack.
Don't come back, Derek. No mo, no mo, no mo, no mo.
But I think that honestly, if for Derek Carr, it might be that the scheme doesn't fit. And that is a Josh McDaniels thing.
Yeah.
That this is more
Also,
of a McDaniels issue. Is that it depends on who Mark Davis is more willing to defend in the situation. Are you protecting Carr or are you protecting McDaniels? If you're protecting McDaniels, Carr is going to get moved. If you're protecting Carr, McDaniels needs to be fired. So that's what I'm saying is that it's going to be either one or the other, but not both.
yeah, I like how my hit the road jack impression went through on my mic, but not the good, bad, and ugly. I'm a little sad.
Yeah. I mean, New Orleans Saints and quarterback. Right now, the quarterback is Andy Dalton. They've already had to go through situations involving Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. Is it time for a change at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints?
I think personally, I think they just need an overall makeover, not just on QB, because their defense has not been the best, and offense has not been a strong suit either. And you just signed Tyrann Mathieu in the offseason and a few other players, but even Jarvis Landry hasn't had that big of a season. Jameis
But
Winston's
that
been off. Andy Dalton's not really hasn't been the slinger that he is. Taysom Hill isn't really technically a quarterback. He's more of a tight end
yeah,
or
yeah.
either or. So it's just like figure it out. To be honest, like figure out what your scheme's gonna be. Don't just kind of wing it and say F it, because there's teams that wing it and succeed, and there's teams like the Saints that just simply don't.
The Saints need to get in. I think it's. I think the change for a quarterback is needed, but I think that the timing of how they are going to do it is going to come at the draft. I think that the New Orleans Saints will look to draft a quarterback. The next one I have is the Lakers and Russell Westbrook. The Lakers and basically point guard with Russell Westbrook.
The man does better when he's not around a bunch of other giants that are big names like LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and many others that could be mentioned that I can't name off the top of my head. But man, when he was by himself in Oklahoma City, like in 2018, I believe, or 2017, it was a long time ago, but that man was doing everything, and I mean everything. He kept his team on its toes, but when it came to like being on like a big three team where you had to share a lot of energy with other players as far as what to do and how the scheme goes, he does not thrive well in that environment. And it shows, especially with the pressure that you have is playing on the Los Angeles Lakers. Like man, and especially with LeBron, like I've heard at times that LeBron's kind of just a very hard to work with individual player.
Yeah, and Westbrook kind of having that type of thing. I think that Russell Westbrook needs a change of scenery. And that will involve trading him. But it's just a matter of how much you're going to need to be able to do to get him. There are multiple quarterback situations that we definitely have to speak on, along with the Raiders and the Saints. Do the following teams need to change quarterbacks or other pieces? The Ravens, the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Packers, and the Commanders.
I would say Ravens for sure need to figure out their situation with Lamar Jackson. Maybe they. I don't know if franchise tagging him would really do anything. Um, because he's still isn't he on his rookie contract, or did they extend him like a year or two ago when he got MVP?
I think he's
Because
on. I mean, he's. I think he's still on like the last bit of that contract.
Because if you don't feel like spending, being big spenders on Lamar Jackson and want to wait until the draft, you could do that. But then you risk losing your running back, quarterback, uh, and whatever schemes that you had in the past. But honestly, if he's comfortable being franchise tagged, or he realizes that him skimping on the deal that the Ravens gave like near the beginning of the season, like maybe he has a change of heart and goes for uh the team friendly option. Who knows? As far as the Dallas Cowboys, uh, I think that's more of a Jerry's ego problem rather than a uh, actual team problem. Like Dak Prescott, he had an extension a couple of years ago, and it sounds
Yeah.
like that might still be going, but who knows? But Jerry, I don't know what the hell's going on in his little mind. Uh, Darth Helmet's got some issues to figure out.
Well, I have that the Broncos primarily need to change head coach.
Agreed.
The Commanders probably should relook into coordinators. I
They
would
needed a
relook
new offensive commander.
a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator, especially if the offense is not working effectively. Although I think right now the scheme working is kind of having it say otherwise for the Commanders, so they might be okay. But I think in Green Bay, it's definitely they need to change something with the quarterback. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just not in anymore. Denver, Denver, Russell Wilson just ain't in anymore.
I have a rebuttal on that. I think if you get a coach that gels with him, but also keeps the peace, but also helps improve his game, that could help.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
Russell Wilson is
don't get me
not the
wrong.
best.
That's exactly where I was saying that. But if you're gonna keep Hackett, Russell Wilson has got to say Broncos country bye bye.
Yeah, I don't like Nathaniel Hackett, and I think he should leave. As far as the Green Bay Packers situation, they should have gotten rid of Rodgers a long time ago if he wanted to try to get more money somewhere else. And the fact that no one wanted to play with them because he wanted more money than they were, that the team wasn't willing to give him because other teammates wanted more money, and just the sheer fact that Devontae Adams was probably upset at Rodgers because Rodgers was being selfish and playing the "I'm too old for this shit" card. Um, I think Rodgers probably knows better and needs to retire after this season. So the Packers might go for Jordan Love near next season, like when next season starts, or maybe they trade Jordan Love and go for a more seasoned quarterback. But who knows? Because let's be honest, when Aaron Rodgers was first on the scene, he wasn't very. I mean, he was somewhat well known, but he did not start his first year and was kind of a red shirt, and Brett Favre was the starting QB.
Right.
And then we all know how that happened later.
And then last but certainly not least, we had a baseball one. The New York Yankees and manager or general manager in Boone or Cashman.
Uh, I feel like talent wise, grabbing talent is probably more important than anything. And Aaron Boone can only do so much with the talent he has. I'm not saying that the talent he has is like not the greatest. I'm just saying the front office has to help you with trying to like finance and also figure out ways to get uh better players on your team while also trying to get rid of other semi better players that you would have to get rid of a better player. Like with the what I'm trying to get at is like the San Diego Padres. The way they got Juan Soto at the deadline this year, they gave up some good prospects, but they also had to give up some
They had to
other players
they
to
had to
get
move
better
some they had
players.
to move some start they had to move some players who were starting. Yes.
Yeah, and also with that, There are other teams that are making more smarter decisions that have gotten closer and further along in their rebuilding process slash getting back to the postseason kind of atmosphere, which the Yankees, surprisingly and sadly enough, don't have an issue with. Their issue is just consistency. Like
Right.
actually getting closer to the World Series and maybe having a chance. Yeah, you could go all on a rant about how you should have gotten to the World Series in 2017. But here's the deal: you had to have the
You did.
talent that can get there, and you also need the pitching that can get there, and you also have to stay healthy. You have the past 2 to 3 years, you've had 10 to 12 people injured that were the top people on your payroll, including Juan Carlo. That man was overpaid, and he plays maybe 2/3 of the season, and that's a maybe. You have Josh Donaldson, which is like near the tail end of his career. I mean, you're not paying him a whole lot, but still. I'm not even done yet. Gio Urshela, nice handsome fella. Not getting paid all that much, but still a big factor in your offense. Isaiah Connor Falefa, not it. Um, Zach Britton, paid too much. Eh. Um, and I could go on. But Yankees, Brian Cashman, you need to cash out and get out of here. And that's all I gotta say about that.
Well, they got to handle free agency in order to do well. Again.
They haven't done that well, but I mean, they did sign Anthony Rizzo back. I'm glad they kind of did that because he has experience with them, but they need to get rid of Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, but they also got to figure out how to secure Aaron Judge. Is
I
probably
think
the
that's gonna
first major.
happen.
They must secure the bag, and if they fumble the bag, they're done for a while. And I think Cashman at that point becomes toast. It's gonna come down to this season, this off season, as to whether or not it really is time for a change. But now that we've kind of figured out the color commentary, we now can move on to the primetime game. We didn't have a primetime game last week, and this week our primetime game is called Odd Man Out. Prompts are of 5 players and a certain theme involving a sport. One player out of the 5 is not like the others. The goal is to find it. Most points wins. We did 2 prompts each of football, basketball, and baseball. So, Ruckus, I'll let you go first. Which sport would you like first?
Let's go with your first basketball question.
The first basketball question. Okay. The first one I am throwing to you are the theme is NBA Sixth Man of the Year award winners. Okay. Which of these is not a Sixth Man of the Year award winner? Lou Williams, James Harden, Tony Kukoc, Manu Ginobili, and Tyler Hero.
So these are rookie of the years.
No, NBA, these are Sixth Man of the Year award
Okay,
winners.
and um, what were the players again?
Lou Williams, James Harden, Tony Kukoc, Manu Ginobili, Tyler Hero.
James Harden.
Incorrect. James Harden does have a Sixth Man of the Year award winner. Harden won the award. Harden won the award and I know exactly what I was doing with this. James Harden won the Sixth Man of the Year in 2011, 2012. The correct answer is Tony Kukoc.
The answer,
Tony
but I was
Kukoc.
thinking of ones that were not six men, just in general.
Yep,
That's what I got stuck on.
James Harden, as a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, was one. Okay, so I will go ahead and take my first basketball one.
All right. So I'm going with a specific year on this one because. All right, here we go. In 2002, these power forwards, uh, one of them won Rookie of the Year. Um, and
Oh, so we're looking for. Wait, what are we looking for here?
so I miss understood like the questions and just
Yeah,
went with
so it's
themed
all of them.
ones.
It's like all of these players have done this except for this person.
So I have one that did get it, but the rest didn't.
Right.
I
Okay.
screwed up.
Okay, that's fine. So you said 2002 Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
All right. Go for it.
Um. So in 2002, uh, in 2002, this power forward won Rookie of the Year, uh, for the Grizzlies.
Agasol.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so what is your next sport?
Um. Let's go baseball. First one.
Okay, baseball. All right. All of these all of these sluggers have hit 500 or more home runs in their career except for one. Carlos Delgado, Mike Schmidt, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, Ted Williams.
And this is one of these has not hit 500 home
One
runs or
of them
more.
has not hit 500 or more home runs in their career.
Repeat it again, please. Then the players.
Carlos Delgado, Mike Schmidt, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, Ted Williams.
We go with Carlos Delgado.
Carlos Delgado is correct.
Figured because I even burned into my memory. I have Jim Thome hitting 500.
I think even Jim Thome had more.
Yeah, I think he had like about 600, didn't he, or 550 or something like
Thome
that.
was in the 600. Thome was in the 600 range.
And I know for damn
612.
sure Manny Ramirez was in the 600 club too.
Thome was at 612. Manny Ramirez is actually at 555.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So Carlos Delgado only had 473. All right. I'll go ahead and take my second basketball one.
All right. Um, here we go. So again, I kind of screwed the pooch on the theme because I forgot that you said that it had to be three different players and you had to mix and match. But um, Here we go. In 2014, these players won the Most Improved Player award, except for, or only one of them won it.
Or were contenders for the most improved player,
Right.
but
Um, these players are
waiting on the players.
um, Goran Dragic, Zach Levine, and Seth Curry.
Levine, I think, is too early. I think that's too early for Levine. I think this is Goran Dragic.
Correct.
Yeah, because I think Levine, it was too early. Okay. What sport are you looking at next?
Um, so I've done
One basketball,
ball
one
and one
baseball.
baseball. Let's round out basketball.
Okay. The one here. Draft picks in the 2003 NBA draft class. Chris Bosh, LeBron James, Leandro Barbosa, Andre Iguodala, and Boris Diaw.
Which one of them wasn't in it?
Which one was not in the 2003 NBA draft class?
LeBron James.
Are you sure you wanted to do that?
Wasn't
Is that your
Boris
final
Diaw?
answer?
Was Boris Diaw one of the other ones?
The 5 answers you have that you can pick from: Chris Bosh, LeBron James, Leandro Barbosa, Andre Iguodala, Boris Diaw.
Andre Iguodala.
That is correct. Andre Iguodala was a member of the 2004 draft class.
Oh, I thought it was earlier than that, but here we are.
Yep. All right, I'm going to go baseball.
All right. Um, three in 2019, these three players contended or for the most stolen bases in the National League. All right. The first one.
So now you're talking is more so now who got it.
Right. Um, who won in the National League for the most stolen bases? But here are the contestants. Like again, like I said, I screwed this up. This was in 2019. You have Trey Turner, Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzy Albies.
You said 2019 was the year?
Correct.
I think this was the year that Acuna nearly went 40-40.
There you go, Acuna.
But I'm in that debate of like, how many bases did Trey Turner really steal? Yeah, I'm gonna go Ronald Acuna Jr.
You are correct.
All right. So you've got one baseball and two football left.
I'll round out my baseball.
Okay. All right. So all of these pitchers have won 300 career games except for one? Randy Johnson, Mike Bucina, Nolan Ryan, Greg Maddux, Cy Young.
And you're talking about ones that have not won 300 games, so only
All of
one of
these
them.
pitchers have won 300 career have gotten 300 career wins except for one. Randy Johnson, Mike Bucina, Nolan Ryan, Greg Maddux, Cy Young.
Mike Mussina?
That is correct. Mike Mussina only had 270 career wins. All right. Let me round out my baseball.
All right. Give me a second.
Still figuring it out.
Screw this up. Um, in 2009, these following players were contending for the most stolen bases in the American League. Which one actually won the title for the most stolen bases of 70? Paul Crawford, John Figgins, or Jacoby Ellsbury?
You said Carl Crawford.
John Figgins, or Jacoby Ellsbury?
Carl Crawford was still playing in Tampa Bay at the time. So I'm going to go with Carl Crawford.
Incorrect.
It was probably Jacoby Ellsbury.
So my original question before I had to alter it was in 2010 this player stole 70 bases in the American League for a Boston team. But I've screwed up when looking on the left or right and it for whatever reason for 2010 and it was really 2009 but that was just my brain that night.
Yep.
Anyways,
Okay, so. All right. For football, are you wanting Heisman Trophy winners or Super Bowl MVPs?
Heisman Trophy.
Okay. All of these players have won a Heisman Trophy except for one. The five players are Tim Tebow, Kyler Murray, Charlie Ward, Peyton Manning, Bo Jackson.
Said Tim Tebow, Kyler Murray,
Charlie Ward, Peyton Manning, Bo Jackson.
Peyton Manning.
That is correct. And I thought that the Charlie Ward one would trick you. All
I don't know
right,
who that
so
is.
he
But
was
I
a
don't.
quarterback for Florida State that won the Heisman Trophy, but then eventually ended up going into the NBA instead of the NFL.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
And
In those Heisman commercials, I never saw Peyton Manning.
yeah, Peyton Manning was never a Heisman Trophy winner.
All right. Do you want your?
I've got football. Both of mine left are football.
So, do you want defensive or offensive first?
Defense.
All right. These players had the most interceptions in 2015 in the NFL. Who were the players? So your three players are Reggie Nelson, Darrell Revis, and Marcus Peters.
Did Reggie Nelson, Marcus Peters.
And
Who was the
Darrell
other one?
Revis. Darrell Revis.
Marcus Peters.
That is correct. So the original question, because they tied for the most interceptions, so you got half of it right, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. The other half was Reggie Nelson.
Yeah, Reggie Nelson. Yeah. Oh, so well then if you were saying like who did not, that one actually would have been who did not share the interception lead, which then I would have been wrong. Darrell Revis. That's
It
the
was
way that you probably.
2015.
Yeah, then that was the way you probably should have handled that question.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's my bad. I should have listened, but
Okay. Super Bowl MVPs. The following players have won a Super Bowl MVP except for one. Von Miller, James White, Drew Brees, Hines Ward, Ray Lewis.
Hines Ward.
Nope. Hines Ward won the Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 40.
Who was it?
The correct answer is James White. James White did not win the MVP in the Super Bowl against the Falcons as Tom Brady won it. But Tom Brady definitely argued to the point that that MVP should have went to James White, but it didn't. All right, my last football one, Ruckus.
All right.
And just to let you know, out of your 6, you got 4.
All right, here we go. These players in 2014 could have led the league in rushing in the NFL. Here are the players. Which one actually won the league title for rushing in 2014? Le'Veon Bell, Marshawn Lynch, DeMarco Murray. This
What
is
was
for
the year?
rushing. 2014.
DeMarco Murray.
Correct. So did we
Yep.
tie? Or did you get like 5 out of 6?
Depending on how you counted that one.
I think yours was 5 out of 6.
Yep. All right. Hey, that's not too bad. We had a very strong game of odd man out. And I feel like you're getting the hang I feel like you're getting the hang of answering the question well now. But now you just got to figure out, like when I was telling you about odd man out, it's like, yeah, one of them has done this except for. So that's where you could go a little bit more ambiguous. Like you have like different. So you can have like, oh, you could have went like, oh, these players are in the top 25 all time, except for one. So it's basically you're spotting the one thing that didn't belong. That's how that was supposed to work. But you're getting the hang of it. And now that we've wrapped up the primetime game, we now can move into stud and dud. All right, Ruckus, who was your stud for this week?
All right, so my so I was actually gonna start with my dud this week. As
Well, we can get to the dud here in just a moment because I think the duds on both ends are kind of not all that great. I was like, did you not really have a solid stud?
come on, man. So my stud is in the form of a stud muffin in Travis Kelsey, as he had 6 receptions last week with a total of 81 yards.
I'm like, wow, you went very much toward the Chiefs. But I went with Atlanta Falcons left tackle Jake Matthews. He had to find out like early in the morning Thursday on the Thursday before having to play against Carolina that his wife was in labor. His wife was in labor preparing to have his son be born. So he's taken back to Atlanta to watch his son be born. And then Arthur Blank ends up having him work his way up back to Charlotte in time for him to play against the Carolina Panthers. Granted that the Falcons lost, but he was not able to miss a life moment and then still be able to play and go to work, making his living pushing defensive linemen around. And then take the plane ride home to Atlanta to actually have time with his baby boy.
The baby.
Yep. And now this is where the duds get funny.
All right, so a couple of my audience members might like this one. So my dud for this week is the Nebraska wide receiver gets hit in the nuts by a by a Michigan defender while trying to lunge away. I mean, let's be honest, getting hit in the nads is probably not the best spot to get hit, especially in football or like really any
A
other
lunge
scenario.
away either. He was actually trying to hurdle him.
Yeah, and instead he got hurdled in his nether region. Man, one time I tried like to jump over a plastic chair with like the metal beam that supported it. Not a good idea. Just not a good idea. But this one probably hurt way more than that. All right, Spennis.
And my dud this week goes to a quarterback trying to play wide receiver. Tom Brady. Granted, he's been known for dropping a pass at an attempt at a Philly special in the Super Bowl. So we've already had issues with Tom Brady being able to hang on to balls, especially if they're properly inflated. However, Leonard Fournette tries to throw a pass to Tom Brady, and this 45-year-old fossil of a quarterback slips on the route, and the pass gets intercepted. Yes, I did just call Tom Brady a fossil. And yeah, people are going to say that he's the greatest quarterback of all time. He's trying to be a football player and can't really make catches like that now. And here we go. Tom Brady, is he really the GOAT if he can't hang on to the football or make any sort of receiving plays? Probably quarterback standard, yeah, but he's not a wideout. But Ruckus, go ahead and take us out.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the Ruckus and the Menace podcast. This is a weekly podcast as we normally do, and we again air on. We're not really air. We have our episodes come out every Thursday morning. if we can help it or if I can help it. Um, Thank you for listening to our podcast. I am Ruckus.
It's the Menace.
And thank you once again for listening to our awesome sports podcast. We'll see you next time.
Deuces.